It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations, we cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
The West is burning. Fires continue to rage throughout the dry timbers and grass of the western U.S. this month. The Carr Fire, a catastrophic blaze which killed several people, continues to burn in Northern California, as does the Mendocino Fire Complex, which has burned well over 300,000 acres near that famed bass fishing water known as Clear Lake, and is the largest wildfire in California state history. In Washington state, the Cougar Creek and Grass Valley fires have eaten up over 100,000 acres of timber, and a new fire near Kettle Falls is eating up even more. It doesn't stop there either. Last weekend in Glacier National Park, a big fire broke out across from the Lake McDonald Lodge. As of last Monday, the National Interagency Fire Center reports 110 large fires across the West and Alaska have burned nearly 1.8 million acres, making this yet another disastrous fire season. So, the question is, what's causing this? And it's not a simple answer of one thing. There are a number of factors, and I don't care what you think, climate change is likely one of them. Another thing, the way we maintain our forest. Thinning our forest and doing prescribed burns can lessen the damage done when a wildfire starts, though budget issues have prevented this in the past, as have the lawsuits of several environmental groups who prefer to keep the forest as is without any regard for what happens when lightning strikes the rich fuel loads of unmanaged timber. Humans are a factor as well. Lightning strikes cause a lot of fires, but so does human carelessness. This comes in the form of abandoned campfires that are not properly put out, a burning cigarette discarded at the side of a road, a running car left in tall, dry grass, or chains dragging behind a truck which give off sparks that ignite a potential firestorm. You and I, we can't stop all the fires, but we can certainly stop some of them by doing our part to be good stewards of the land we love and educating others to do the same. As for those affected by these fires and the brave firefighters battling the flames, our prayers for safety are with you, and our prayers as well for favorable weather that will help dampen these blazes. Turning to more enjoyable topics, let's tell you about what we've got coming your way on America Outdoors Radio. We've got a new sponsor on board. That's good news. It's McOmie's Custom Lures, and they make spinners and spoons out of Oregon State that will catch salmon, steelhead, trout, and kokanee just about anywhere you want to fish for them in the U.S. Better still, we're going to be doing some lure giveaways during the next few months, which will give you a chance to test drive these high-quality lures. The owner of the company will tell you more about these lures in just a minute. August is both a great month for summer travel and for fly fishing, so it seems like the perfect week to talk to Bennett Mintz. He is the executive editor of the book 25 Best National Parks for Fly Fishing, and we'll get Bennett's take on some national parks you'll want to visit with a fly rod this summer and fall. We're going to talk to a couple of podcasters, too. One of them is Beau Martonik. He is the host of East Meets West Hunt Podcast. He hails from Pennsylvania, but loves to hunt in the western U.S., and you might say his podcast is about not only that, but also about some of the differences between hunting styles, opportunities, and the hunters themselves when it comes to being east or west of the Mississippi River, and we're going to explore that today. Finally, with whitetail deer season coming up fast, we thought we'd check in with Bruce Hutcheon, the host of Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. He'll give you his picks regarding the best dates for whitetail deer hunting in 2018. But before we talk hunting, let's talk fishing, and let's do so with a man who's making some lures that will help you catch some more salmon. They're called McOmie's Custom Lures, and guess what? We've got the owner of the company with us right now. His name is John McOmie. He's coming to us from the greater Portland, Oregon area. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, John, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your company that's based in Oregon?
Yeah, we started this company in 2010, and we've grown it into a pretty successful spinner and spoon company, and we're into spoons right now and on the Columbia River and offshore.
Well, your spoons, I know, or I should say your lures, are sold up and down the West Coast and in Anchorage, too. And I know for a fact there's a lot of folks trolling McOmie spoons right now from the waters of Southeast Alaska for coho all the way down to San Francisco Bay for Chinook. Let's talk about two of the different spoons that you sell. We'll start off with the Elite Series Salmon spoon. Tell our listeners about this and how you fish it.
Elite Salmon Series spoons come in two sizes and four different metals. We have a gold, nickel, and copper in the colors. And they do really well in the offshore salmon fisheries. We have two different sizes, 3 1/4 and a 4-inch. And we also came out this year with 4 new colors that blend in, and they almost look like they have the scales of the fish on it. They're really, really popular. Brought them out into the Seattle area this last year, and they just exploded up there. So it's been real successful with them.
Well, and that brings up a question. So you just told us what's working for those resident blackmouth and coho and some of those other salmon up in Puget Sound. What about some of the other waters off of Oregon and Alaska? Are there any hot colors for any of those areas?
Well, with the champion spoons, it seems like where, San Francisco, southern Oregon coast, and the northern Oregon coast, and Seattle area and Alaska are all different colors for the same fish. And that's because of the strains of the fish, of the salmon, and how they were bred in the hatcheries. And so I've stuck with the pinks pretty much because I pick them up and down the coast with the pinks, and we have about 6 different pinks right now. But a lot of people swear by the blues, greens, the purples up in the Sound area and out of the Straits. And up towards Alaska, they're really into the greens up there. And down in San Francisco area and Half Moon Bay and up the coastline and southern Oregon, they really like the chartreuses, and the greens are real hot.
Very interesting. So, John, here's another question for you. When it comes to your spoons, you've got some with hoochies on them too, don't you?
Yes, we put hoochies on the champion glow spoons that we have. And with the way the action of the spoon works, it looks like a fish tail moving back and forth with the hoochie on it. And it just excites the fish to strike, and it's just dynamite. We've had a lot of customers, a lot of fishermen telling us that, they'll put bait on one side of the boat, and they'll fish the champion lures on the other side, and the champion lures will outfish the bait. And when I first brought them out in 2014, this was some of the things that we were hearing, and I didn't believe it until I actually went out and I tried what they were doing, and it worked tremendously.
This is probably not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it. Which one sells better, the Champion Salmon Spoon or the Elite Series Salmon Spoon?
I would say the Elite Series spoons have been out just 1 year. The Champion spoons have been out since, like I said, 2014. So it's had a good 4 years on the salmon season, and it's done, better every year. I would say right now, if I was going to fish, I would fish the Champion spoons with the hoochie on it. They're by far the best that we have. We have 14 colors in these, and they come in 2 sizes. And we have 6 new colors coming out that we should have on the market. By the time the sportsman shows come up in January, February next year, we should have them for sale for the fishermen that come by.
All right. Well, there's something to look forward to. And something else to look forward to, folks, is with McOmie's Custom Lures as a sponsor, we're going to be doing once-a-month giveaways for the next 3 months. That's right. Starting next week, we are going to give away a 5-pack of these spoons for you to try out. Use them, trolling with a downrigger, a very successful way to catch salmon out in the ocean this time of year and in the Columbia River. If you want to find out more about McOmie's Custom Lures, the website is McComiesCustomLures.com. That's McComiesCustomLures.com. You'll also find them in sporting goods stores all up and down the West Coast and in Anchorage, to include Sportsman's Warehouse stores. John, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
Are you trolling for big salmon? Then tie on a spoon or spinner from McComie's Custom Lures. These high-quality, made-in-the-USA lures help you catch more Chinook and coho. Whether you troll an Elite Series spoon, a Champion glow spoon with a squid skirt, or a 3.5 mini Colorado spinner, you'll be increasing your chances for a fish on. Look for McComie's Custom Lures at quality sporting goods stores in our West Coast states and Alaska, or online at McComiesCustomLures.com.
I'd like to welcome a new sponsor to our show. It's Sportsman's Cove Lodge, and many anglers who have been there will tell you it really is Alaska's best lodge. Sportsman's Cove Lodge sits on a salmon highway full of kings and silvers. There's halibut too, and there are some really big ones. Finally, with decades of experience taking care of customers, Sportsman's Cove Lodge knows how to treat you right from start to finish. Ready to book your trip of a lifetime? Then call Sportsman's Cove Lodge at 800-962-7889. That's 800-962-7889. 800-962-7889 for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products were designed for you. We make products for the relentless fishermen who know that big fish are caught by those who put in the work. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, you'll spend more time chasing the fish, not your gear. Designed and built right here in the USA, Fish Fighter products won't let you down. Gear up at fishfighterproducts.com.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. A lot of folks are fly fishing around the country this summer, and one place to do so, very special places to do so, are our national parks. That's why we've got Bennett Mintz on the line. He's the executive editor and co-author of a book called The 25 Best National Parks to Fly Fish. Bennett, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
So, Bennett, you live in California. Let's start off with a great fly fishing national park in the Golden Bear State.
There are 4 national parks in the state of California, or should I say 4 great national parks in the great state of California. Yosemite, which I guess everybody in the world has heard about. Kings Canyon, which is right next to Yosemite. Sequoia. And the 4th park is in Lassen National Park on the northern part of the state of California, and that's Lassen Volcanic National Park. And each of these parks has fly fishing to some less or greater degree, and they're all very, very good. Some are better than others. It's interesting that Yosemite is probably our most visited national park, and yet very, very few people in comparison think of it as being a fly fishing destination. And our chapter on Yosemite is so complete. It was done by a guy who was a guide and a photographer and a nature lover, and it takes you rock by rock through the park. I must say, the way this book was written, in case you don't know, each of these chapters is drafted or written by someone who has his or her boots on the ground. That is, they are in the park. They know the park. They are either a guide in the park, they own a lodge adjacent to the park, they work in the park as a volunteer, and in some cases, they're all of that above. They work there, they fish there, they photograph there, and so they know every turnout, every hole in every river, everything. So that's where all the information came from. Terry and Wendy and I basically put all this together and put it into a readable format where we have each chapter being a park is similar to the others, so that you don't have to scratch around looking to find out where the where the entrance is and things. They're pretty much the same. So that's what we did.
All right, Bennett. Well, let's head north to Alaska. And a lot of folks, when they go to Alaska, they go fishing, but they don't think of the national parks as a destination. Give me one national park in Alaska where people ought to be bringing their fly rod.
Alaska has 3 national parks, but one is basically inaccessible. That's the Wrangell-Elias National Park. So we give that very, very short shrift. I mean, essentially, you can't get there. And the 2 national parks that you can get to, and we give a long chapters, are Denali and Katmai. And Denali, the chapter was written by or drafted by a guy named Alex Huntermark, who was born in Juneau and raised on the Kenai Peninsula, and has been doing this since his childhood. Very, very good job. I mean, it is so complete that people cannot believe how complete we are. Because it's an enormous park. But Alex did just a tremendous job on that, and we put it all together, and it gives you everything from the Tri-Valley Community Tribal Council rooms and the nearby hospitals and places to eat and so forth, and it's terrific. And Katmai, the same way. Katmai was drafted by a guy named, I'm getting it right here, Chad McBride. And Chad grew up in Colorado, but he began wandering the streams of Alaska as a young guy, and he's worked at various lodges, and he developed an enormous education of the Alaska system, and it's really a great chapter. And if you're going to Alaska, you'd be silly not to get the book just to look at that one chapter. It takes you into everything. So in each chapter begins with a brief history of the park, and we didn't want to try to compete with national park books that give you the whole history of how they were founded and the people and everything. But basically, we give you just how this whole thing came about, where it came from, and that kind of thing. And so each chapter is more or less identical in that.
All right, Bennett. Well, let's head east of the Mississippi. If I want to go catch some brook trout, what's the national park you'd send me to?
Brook trout, you want to go to Acadia. Acadia is in Maine. It is, our chapter was written by Bob Mallard, who owned, at that time, Kennebec River Outfitters, and he doesn't know every rock. He knows every blade of grass in that park. And he subsequently sold the business, and I'm not sure what Bob is doing now. I know he's writing, and he's very good. But Acadia is what is known as Down East Maine, and it was founded in 1916 by then-President Woodrow Wilson. I won't go into all of that. But they have a fish there that's called a salter. And a salter is a sea-run brook trout. And most people, I guess, or certainly many people, don't even know that fish exists. Well, that is one pulling fish. I mean, that will give you some tugs and hugs. It's a great fish. It's endangered, of course. And salters or sea-run brookies are available in Acadia Park. And it's just a wonderful area of the country. Of course, the problem is, to West Coast fly fishers, the problem in Acadia is it's only open a couple of months a year. Or you can only get it a couple of months a year. But what's interesting is that Acadia was rather built in the beginning about 1915 by John D. Rockefeller. And Grand Teton Park, in just south of Yellowstone, was also built by the Rockefellers. So, you have these enormous industrialists, multi-billionaire people who have given back to the sport they love and to the country they love with the establishing of national parks. And most people don't know that, but that's the truth.
Well, Bennett, we're going to have to leave it at that. But, folks, speaking of Grand Teton, that's another great national park to fly fish in. You've got the Snake River there, and just north of there is Yellowstone National Park. There's 4 different chapters dedicated to Yellowstone National Park in this book. The book, again, is the 25 Best National Parks to Fly Fish. You can find it at Amazon.com. As you just heard from Bennett, all sorts of information to help you have a great experience in our national parks, fly fishing this summer or the next summer ahead. Bennett, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Hey, thanks for having us, and happy fishing.
There's a place where the fishing is year-round, where the sun shines 300 days a year. The wineries and breweries are right downtown. The hiking and cycling offer spectacular views you just don't get in the big cities. Fortunately, the place is real and vibrant. It's the Dalles, Oregon, just 90 short minutes from Portland, along the gorgeous Columbia River, where the adventures are limited only by your imagination. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products are designed and built for you right here in the USA. Fish Fighter products are used by the top fishing guides in the Northwest because they know having the right equipment is imperative to a successful fishing trip. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, Fish Fighter products makes the gear you can count on. Find out more at fishfighterproducts.com.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Kruse through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. Hunting season is just over the horizon. And folks, both in the eastern part of the U.S. and the western part of the U.S. are looking forward to going after big game. But do we look at it the same way? Do we hunt the same way? One person who's been exploring that question is Beau Martonik. He is the founder of East Meets West Outdoors. He has a podcast on this very subject. Beau, welcome to the show.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. A fascinating topic here. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your podcast and who your audience is?
Yeah, so I started the podcast called East Meets West Hunt, and the podcast is surrounded by helping hunters from the eastern United States be able to head west or find adventure in their hunts anywhere across the United States and Canada. So from my experience of going out west for the first time and just embarking on my first do-it-yourself hunt for elk, it kind of changed my life in the regards of I didn't realize how really easy it was to plan something like that. And when I say easy, I mean it takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication and preparation with it, but it's possible for anyone. And I really wanted to show people that it's possible to do that. So with the podcast, my hope and my why of doing it is to help people find adventure through hunting in different places and wild places from east to west, and also really highlighting the Appalachian region that I grew up in the east and realizing there's so much opportunity for great hunting, utilizing, America's public lands and being able to hunt a variety of species in some truly beautiful places if it's not possible to head west.
Let's talk about some of the differences between hunting in the eastern U.S., hunting in the western U.S. I think you just touched on one of those, and that's the huge swaths of public land we have in the West that eastern hunters just don't have, do they?
Yeah, well, it can depend. I know a lot of the Midwest is a lot of private land and a lot of the East, but in that Appalachian region that I was kind of talking about there, that runs through the Appalachian Mountains up through Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Southern Ohio, New York, all of these places actually have a pretty decent amount of public land. And where I grew up in north central Pennsylvania, we have over 2 million acres of public land just in northern Pennsylvania alone. So, and that's something that not a lot of people know about. And I'm really trying to show that there's opportunity there. So, but that is a difference as far as not a lot of people know that. Where in the West, it's kind of, you don't even have to say you're hunting public land. It's just normally you are. And there's definitely quite a few differences from that standpoint on where to hunt. And the biggest thing is how you hunt. So Eastern U.S., a lot of times it's, kind of a common misconception that everyone can just, drive their four-wheelers up to their tree stand. They sit in the tree stand and, and hunt deer. But in reality, there's a lot of differences with, you can hike into different areas. You can actually have that, adventure concept behind hunting in the East, similar to what you would do in the West. But with that being said, the Western United States definitely has a lot more vast wilderness than the East does. So from that perspective, there's a lot of similarities, but also quite a few differences there.
What about the hunters themselves? Do you think that the mindset of the hunter in the East who's going after whitetail deer is different than the mindset of the hunter out West going after mule deer?
Yes, I do. And it's hard to kind of pinpoint because I don't want to group everybody into this category, but it seems like it almost seems like the guys from the West are planning a little bit more when it comes around to it, and they're more open to some of the adventure style hunting, like I was kind of mentioning there, as far as going back in, whether that's a backpack style hunt or anything along those lines. Where in the East, it's more of, people are doing a lot more weekend type trips and, again, hunting out of tree stands and different things there. But I do think that that's kind of changing, and the mindsets are becoming a little bit more similar. There's quite a few people that are embarking in some of these different occasions.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We're talking to Beau Martonik. He is the founder of East Meets West Outdoors. We're talking about some of the differences between hunting in the Eastern U.S. versus hunting in the Western U.S. Now, you've got a big Western U.S. hunt planned yourself. You're going from your home in Pennsylvania to Colorado. Tell me what you have planned.
Yeah, I'm planning on embarking on basically a 7-day backpack hunt in the mountains of Colorado. And this will be a do-it-yourself type hunt. So, and during the archery season, I'll be hunting some rutting bulls, hopefully, here, driving out. It's about a 27-hour drive, driving straight through with a group of friends. And we're going to backpack in to a wilderness area and set up a base camp and hunt out of that for 6 to 7 days, it looks like right now. And hopefully come back with a couple bulls and bring back a lot of good meat. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So here's the question. Again, you're in Pennsylvania. This is in Colorado. How do you plan for this type of adventure in terms of knowing where to go and where to hunt? I mean, that's not easy several states away unless you've got some intel on the ground that's giving you some advice.
Yeah, so it was actually kind of difficult at first to figure that out. And I just started doing a lot of researching online and found some really good resources that were able to lead me in that direction. And those resources were the University of Elk Hunting. Corey Jacobson has that program that really helps you plan it step by step, going through where you can hunt as far as explaining the tag systems, everything there, explaining how to use Google Earth to scout. And I really used that along with GoHunt.com. That was another thing that was huge for me to be able to utilize, and kind of, once I picked a state I wanted to go to, really narrow it down to the units by success rate, by hunter numbers, by the terrain I was looking for, the amount of public land, everything there, and then switch over to the Onyx maps and Google Earth system to kind of scout and look for what I would consider a place I wanted to hunt. But with that being said, that's also, how do you look at an entire unit even and figure out where you wanted to go? And that was through that University of Elk Hunting. I really got a lot of information on what, the elk need, where they're typically bedding, what they're feeding on, where the water sources would be. And I would just go through and drop a pin online on these maps in a bunch of areas that look like an area that may hold elk. So I did that, and I had about 10 different places where I'd have that marked. And when I went out for my first year, I just would start at game plan number 1 and keep moving through it until I could find elk. And it was pretty amazing to go from Pennsylvania, just scouting online, driving all the way to Colorado for the first time, and going in there and actually finding elk in some of the places that I had marked from e-scouting.
That is absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, we are out of time because I really want to hear more about this. But I will say one thing. 15 years ago, the old saying was, the internet is a very broad but very shallow stream. But as you just heard, that river called cyberspace has gotten a lot deeper and has all sorts of tools. And one of those tools is Beau Martonik's podcast and website. The website to go to, eastmeetswesthunt.com. You'll get to the podcast there. Or you can go to his Facebook page, East Meets West Outdoors. That's the Facebook page. Check out either resource. Start finding out how you can be a successful hunter, whether you live in the East or the West, with some of the great guests that Beau has every week or more. Beau, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Hey, thanks, John. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I'd like to welcome a new sponsor to our show. It's Sportsman's Cove Lodge, and many anglers who have been there will tell you it really is Alaska's best lodge. Sportsman's Cove Lodge sits on a salmon highway full of kings and silvers. There's halibut too, and there are some really big ones. Finally, with decades of experience taking care of customers, Sportsman's Cove Lodge knows how to treat you right from start to finish. Ready to book your trip of a lifetime? Then call Sportsman's Cove Lodge at 800-962-7889. That's 800-962-7889. 800-962-7889 for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
There's a place where the fishing is year-round, where the sun shines 300 days a year. The wineries and breweries are right downtown. The hiking and cycling offers spectacular views you just don't get in the big cities. Fortunately, the place is real and vibrant. It's the Dalles, Oregon, just 90 short minutes from Portland, along the gorgeous Columbia River, where the adventures are limited only by your imagination. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Are you trolling for big salmon? Then tie on a spoon or spinner from McOmie's Custom Lures. These high-quality, made-in-the-USA lures help you catch more Chinook and coho. Whether you troll an Elite Series spoon, a Champion Glow spoon with a squid skirt, or a 3.5 Mini Colorado spinner, you'll be increasing your chances for a fish on. Look for McOmie's Custom Lures at quality sporting goods stores in our West Coast states and Alaska, or online at McOmiesCustomLures.com.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Kruse through his website at AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands. We've helped ban the use of drones for hunting. We help repair wildlife corridors and key riparian areas. We speak up against illegal ATV use. We collaborate with elected leaders to keep public lands in public hands. We're Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, with membership in all 50 states and Canada. Please join this dynamic conservation group. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products were designed for you. Fish Fighter products are used by the top fishing guides in the Northwest because they know having the right equipment is imperative to a successful fishing trip. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, you'll spend more time chasing the fish, not your gear. Designed and built right here in the USA. Gear up at fishfighterproducts.com.
You are back again with America Outdoors Radio, and I've got a question for you. When you drop anchor, do you end up where you want to be? In other words, does your anchor drag along the bottom with the tide or the current and pull you away from the zone you want to be fishing in? If so, you can solve that problem. With the breakaway river anchor from Fish Fighter products, these anchors stick to the bottom like no others. So when you drop anchor, you know exactly where you're going to be fishing. And isn't that what you want when you drop anchor? Find out more at fishfighterproducts.com. That's fishfighterproducts.com. I ran across an intriguing article this week from the Outdoor Hub, which asks the question, should your hunting dog wear a Kevlar vest? I know, it seems silly on the surface. I mean, I wore a Kevlar vest for 24 years as a police officer, but that was meant to protect me from bad guys with guns. And yes, I've seen police canines wear Kevlar vests too for that same reason and for protection from knives. But hunting dogs? It turns out it's not the danger so much from a hunter's errant shot that the Kevlar is meant to be used for as it is the danger from predators the dog may encounter in the field. For example, we've all heard about small dogs who have fallen prey to coyotes, and with that in mind, there are Kevlar vests with spikes sticking up out of the back and Kevlar covering over the neck to protect your little pup from those predators. Bigger dogs might need Kevlar protection too, especially if they're hunting dogs and they've cornered a wild boar or a cougar. In fact, one company called Hardcore Hunting, they build Kevlar vests for dogs, and they do it primarily with hog hunters in mind. And then there's me, who hunts birds and merely thought that a vest was a neoprene one to keep that dog warm while retrieving ducks in chilly waters, or a Cordura nylon vest meant to keep a dog from getting all scraped up while upland bird hunting. Maybe I'll have to upgrade a vest for my Springer Spaniel at least if we find ourselves hunting birds in wild boar, cougar, or bear country. In other news, I think everybody knows that Bass Pro Shops bought out Cabela's about a year ago, but outside of some new items stocked in Cabela stores, there haven't been a whole lot of cosmetic changes, and if you didn't know better, you would think you were shopping at two different businesses. That's about to change in Rogers, Arkansas, where the fishing retailer reports the 100,000 square foot Cabela store there is going to become a combined Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, and Tracker Marine store. Look for this renovated store to have a grand reopening this fall. I suspect the higher-ups at Bass Pro Shops will closely watch how things go at this store, and if things go well, I'd start looking for many more former Cabela stores converted into these hybrid stores in the near future. Next on America Outdoors Radio, whitetail deer season is coming up much sooner than later, and it's time to start thinking about where you're going to hunt whitetails this year. We thought we'd reach out to the host of the Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. His name is Bruce Hutcheon. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, John.
So, Bruce, we've got about 5 minutes. Thought we'd do a quick lightning round for the best states for whitetail this fall and why you think they're going to be good this year. Plus, we'll talk about one that might be a dud. Let's start off with the number one state you think folks ought to be hunting this year for whitetail.
Well, unfortunately, the best state that I feel in the nation is Iowa. I say unfortunately because even for archery hunters, you can't get a tag every year as a non-resident. Residents, there's boomer bucks there. I've been fortunate to hunt a couple of times in Iowa, and I've never been disappointed. So that's my number one state. If you have a tag, hunt hard, and either DIY or with an outfitter, you would stand a great chance. One thing to remember this fall, no matter where you're hunting, water is going to be key because it's been so dry. Yeah, we've had a lot of rain in some parts of the country. Other parts, we're parched.
Oh, you're absolutely right about that. Any other Midwest states that might be a little bit easier to hunt in terms of getting a tag?
Well, most of them are drawers like Colorado, my state. One I can put in for a drawer for eastern Colorado, and the problem out there is access. It's extremely expensive, like $8,000 expensive. But we have a lot of Boona bucks coming off eastern Colorado, not just along the Arkansas River or the South Platte, but out in agricultural lands. There's some tremendous whitetails. So don't neglect that if you're hunting. Kansas is so popular now. There's so many TV shows that it's putting out great bucks. But, my sleeper is Kentucky, and you had asked me about that. My sleeper, if you can get on into Kentucky and do some scouting, do pre-scouting with Google Earth and such, and then get on the ground, you're going to find some, we're talking, top quality mature deer, and everybody wants to get a booner, but if you get a 4.5, 5.5-year-old deer, that's a trophy. And in fact, just like elk hunting, any mature buck is a trophy to me.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That sounds wonderful. Let's head to the upper Midwest. When you think of states like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, a lot of deer hunters up there.
I'll just tell you where I'm hunting. I'm hunting Nebraska. I'm hunting western Nebraska for whitetails this year, and I'll be hunting straight north of there. I'll be going up along the Missouri River. And I haven't hunted up there. I haven't been on the ground, so I can't tell you if it's a sleeper yet. But I've seen some darn nice trail camera pictures. So you go from Nebraska through Dakotas, then you hit Minnesota. Minnesota, unfortunately, as in Wisconsin, we have a wolf problem there. So you have to get to the southern portions of the state in Minnesota, along the Mississippi River. Now, if you can get along the Mississippi River in the bluff country, there's some great deer there. Wisconsin, I've hunted Wisconsin for a long time, and off our farm, we've taken some gorgeous bucks. But even on our farm, that's just north of Madison, Wisconsin, we've had wolves come through. Now, we don't have a pack on the farm, but we've had them come through there. So, I hesitate to say anything positive about Wisconsin other than, people hunt every year. Buffalo County still is one of the top-ranked Pope and Young or Boone and Crockett counties, so you can't negate that, but prices of land and access is just astronomical. It's just like living in Orange County or even like Colorado Springs like I do. It's skyrocketed. So you better do your homework just to get a place to hunt.
All right. Well, I think that covers our potential dud would be the state of Wisconsin and northern Minnesota, where wolves and access are an issue. Last but not least, we got about a minute left. Tell us about your podcast and where people can hear it.
Yes, I am the host and executive producer of Whitetail Rendezvous. You can hear me on any podcast forum, iTunes, Stitcher, FM. A lot of people just go to my website at whitetailrendezvous.com and listen to the show every single day. And, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Gen 7 TV, and YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. So I'm pretty much all over, and I'm the fastest growing whitetail podcast in North America.
Well, there you go, folks. It's the Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. The host, Bruce Hutcheon, and he just gave you some great ideas of where to go hunting and maybe some places not to go hunting for the 2018 season. Bruce, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure, sir.
That was great hearing from Bruce. While you're online listening to the Whitetail Rendezvous podcast, there's some other podcasts too. One of them is ours at America Outdoors Radio. You can hear us on YouTube at Stitcher or Podbean, and you can hear our sister show too, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Another place to hear this show is at talkamericaradio.us. It's the new voice of conservative talk radio. They've got a great lineup, and we are lucky enough to be part of it. Our show airs there every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also on Facebook at America Outdoors Radio, and we've got a website too, americaoutdoorsradio.com. We've got to let you go on this sunny, smoky day out in the American West where wildfires continue to burn. I hope that if you are stuck in the smoke, you get some relief soon, and better still, that you get outdoors to enjoy what's left of summer, whether it be fishing, whether it be hunting, hiking, camping, or whatever else you enjoy doing outside. May God bless you greatly in the week ahead, and do remember, it is your country and your outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.
Millions of deer hunters take to the field every fall, continuing an American tradition. If you're a deer hunter, offer to mentor someone who would like to hunt but hasn't had the opportunity. Help continue the tradition. A message from this station and Whitetails Unlimited.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com.